There's a difference between like knowing about God. Like I know about computers, but I don't know computers. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what button to press, turn my thing on, get online. But when it doesn't function that way, I don't know what else to do. It's like there's people who know about God, but when everything and they may know a few things to do, but because the reality of the disconnect, maybe by faith or disconnect, lack of faith, they don't know what buttons to press. Like I don't know what buttons to press with a computer when things go crazy. From your perspective, like yeah, I know different beliefs, different understandings, but what would you say is a common thing, a common thread, a common statement, a common action that you see maybe even in your peers about their faith or lack of faith? What would you say it is?
So I would say it's when they're asking for something from him and they don't get it at that specific point of time, then that's what carries them to be like, oh, he's just nothing here. I don't believe in him, because they're not getting what they want at that specific time, not knowing it's a whole process to what you're asking for, depending on what you're asking for. So I believe that's one of the strongest things that I see in my peers.
Give me an example of that.
So an example I can say, they'll pray for like they like, I want to get this job or I want this amount of money, and they don't get that. So at that specific time, they're pissed off and they don't, believe in it. They just don't believe in it.
Makes sense. Again, y'all, we're not saying something that's rocket science. This is not nothing new under the sun. Maybe even brothers on this microphone might have been in that kind of position too. I think the point of what you're saying brings up a thought to me, almost like one generation wants the next generation that they're raising to be different than the generation that they lived in, right? I don't want my kids to have to always take the bus, or I don't want my kids to have to shovel snow, or whatever the case may be, right? But some of that creates like a privilege, to the degree that if you roll it over in what you're talking about, Deron, like with God, if my privilege happens this way at home, I ain't got no socks. Okay, we get some socks. Not like wash the daggum socks you got and then wear them boys that you got. It becomes almost that way with God. I'm going to pray. I need this to happen. I got everything in order. Why isn't this happening? And so that privilege, like God should just snap at that and make move. If it is this mimicked that way, you know what I mean? If it's mimicked that way in the household and things don't happen by faith that way, then it could be like something that is creating a pattern as it pertains to faith, or a block. Could be a whole block. Again, though, there's nothing new under the sun. The only piece that's different to me is how that's expressed in a different way. It may be more rebellious. It may be more visceral. It may be more going downtown to tear up cars. It may be just crazier in some spots like that. You know what I mean?
Now I got a question for you, Deron. What was your walk with church like? Did you grow up in church? And do you go to church now? And if you don't, why? Why don't you go?
So I grew up in the church, yes. I was in a choir, I did miming, and yeah, so the reason.
Man, sing a song right now, man. Sing that. I'm going up yonder. Come on.
You can't get me right now. You can't do that. But the reason why I don't attend church now is because my original church they literally tore the church down. So it's no longer there. And then my pastor, he passed away. And it was just a disconnect from church from there for me. But I always pray.